Yeah, let's do this. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. What do we see? I see 5 is what percent of 20? 5 is what percent of 20, folks? Let me turn this camera a little bit. Sorry about the glare. So if you're seeing this problem, you're probably doing a developmental math course. I would suggest you learn this problem because you're probably going to run into a similar problem with different numbers. You need to learn is the setup. So with that said, let me introduce myself. My name is Jason Santiago. So I am 47 now. Yeah, so it's been a minute since I've done any type of mathematics. You know, I graduated in 1994. So all that information is gone. I mean, I'm not going to say it's because I grew up in the 80s and raved in the 90s. No. I'm going to say because I haven't been able to grow. So it's been scientifically proven that it's been able to grow, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to improve myself, and I'm doing this video because I'm taking interpersonal communications. So this is how I practice at home. This is not even an assignment, okay? So I'd like to point out that I had to take the 4 credit hour course. It was the 4 credit hour developmental mathematics course. I would suggest not doing that online. I don't even think that's an option. You have to do that one in the class. You can take your time when you do the test. Be detailed, like read the questions. If you're taking a test in math lab, read the question, understand the question before you put your answer in, because you might put a correct answer, but you'll get it wrong because you're not putting the answer that was asked. So without further ado, let's jump in. We're looking at 5 is what percent of 20? So how do we set this up? So, well, what is it that we know? Okay, well, first of all, they want a percent, okay? They want a percent. So when you type in the computer, I know this is probably really easy, but I'm letting you know when it comes time to take the test and you're confronted and you're sitting in front of a computer screen, you need to put the exact answer that the math lab wants, or it is wrong. It's either going to be right or wrong. So what we're doing here is we're going to show you the right answer. That's me and Snorlax over there. You can't see him. I don't know why I said we, but let's continue. So 5 is what percent of 20? It's like, so what is it we know? It's all about the setup. Figure out how to set the equation up that you will be able to understand. So the way I was able to understand is the setup I'm about to do right now. And before I continue, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I did get an A in the developmental math course, and I did get the A in intermediate, and I did struggle with college algebra. I got a B. The only reason why I didn't get the A is because scatter plots. I spent too much time on scatter plots. So I got tons of information. I took great notes, and a lot of the notes that I do have, they correspond to the notes of recent graduates of high school. So same questions. So we're going to dig into them. We're going to solve them. We're going to figure out what makes it tricky, and I'm going to help the 40 and above age demographic, maybe some other 18-year-olds that maybe might have managed to get their way through math by using photo math, which is I am aware of, and let's just do this problem. Okay, we're looking at 5 is what percent of 20? Well, what do we know? Well, we know that 5, so let's go ahead and write 5 is, that is equal, you is, is, 5 is, okay, 5 is equal, get that in your head, 5 is equal what percent of 20? So go ahead and put a line here. 5 is equal to what 5 equals what percent of 20? So let's continue on. So 5 equals, we don't know the percent, but MathLab wants a percentage, not a fraction, okay? A percentage, remember that, because you're gonna, when it comes time to do the test, some people struggle with tests. I do. Not everybody does, but I do. Okay? And if you're struggling, you need to get into MathLab. Okay? So 5 is. So is represents this equal sign. 5 is what percent of 20? Well, we don't know the percent. So let's go ahead and put a line there. You can put a variable. We could start with x. All right? So why don't we just go ahead and put an x here? Because we do not know. That represents the unknown. So 5 equals, this is equals, what percent of 20? 5 is what percent of 20? So of represents multiplication. Okay? Multiplication. So you can do it the old school way with the cross, or you can put a dot. I suggest you put the dot. That's multiplication. That's what you do in college. Get over it. Okay? So we got the dot. Remember, of is representing the dot. Is representing the equal sign. And we know 20, so let's just put 20 here. That's the setup. Okay? That's the setup. Another suggestion. Do the courses at the campus. The reason why is because when you do your test, it's going to be timed. All right? Don't think that I'm going to take a mathematics course online and use all these fancy calculators and I'm going to get an A. It's not going to happen. And here's the reason why. Because all of the instructors were students at once. They're all technically inclined. They all know about these pieces of software that are out there that can do mathematical equations for you. Okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to, that's why I love math. You can manipulate it. I mean, it's math, like there's no way around, how do I articulate this? So with mathematics, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So this is how I'm going to skin the cat, okay? So we got, remember, is represents equals. Of is going to represent multiplication. So now it's basically just a linear equation, okay? So we have 5 equals x times 20. So now let's just do the math. So 20 times x, okay? That's the same thing, all right? 20 times x. You know, if you want to draw a dot there, you could, but I suggest not. That's 20 times x. Let's bring down our equal sign. And let's bring down the 5. So let me write this a little bit more clear. 5 equals 20 times x. Okay? So let's continue on. Remember your rules. If you don't have these rules in your head, then you need to get in the math lab, okay? It's actually kind of fun. Make a day of it, you know? If you don't, I live 45 minutes from campus, okay? So what I would do, I'd make a day of it. Just on my day off, drive up to the campus, have lunch, do an hour of the math lab, maybe go to a shop, come back, do an hour. Whatever works for you. So we still have this equation to solve. Let's go ahead and knock it out. So 5 equals 20 times x, all right? So that, remember guys, this is guys and gals, this is multiplication here, all right? So what we do to one side, we're going to do to the other, all right? So there's several ways you can do this, but I'm going to do the straightforward, easy way, okay? So we're going to divide. We're going to do the opposite. So we're going to divide by 20, okay, on each side of the equal sign. So go ahead and put your 20, your division bar, your 20. Okay, so it looks like a fraction now. A lot of people, this is where a lot of people mess up, okay? It's so easy just to cross cancel, whoop, whoop, and bring down your x. I want to recommend placing a 1 there. Always place a 1 there, okay? For this equation, it's not needed at all. It's just not needed. But when you get into the higher math, the 1 being represented, it's going to help you maybe think a little bit more clearer, and it's a good way to manipulate a problem and to make things a little bit more tricky, you know? I'm just trying to save you money, all right? You don't want to have to spend $330 to do developmental math, okay? What I did was I did not go into math lab before taking the Pert, okay? So with that said, you might want to go into the math before doing the Pert. The Pert test is a placement exam. So mind you, I'm reminding you, I'm 47 years old, okay? So it's been a long time. And we're going to dive into college algebra, okay? But not today. So remember, 20 goes into 20 one time, so that's why I'm putting the 1 there. And I made it in red because I want you to remember to always put a 1 there. I mean, it's not going to hurt, and it's true. So we're bringing down our equal sign, and now we have 5 over 20. So, I mean, you could look at that and just reduce it. I read math, you'll get faster and faster, and you'll start to be able to read it once you get past college algebra. You'll be able to just read this. But we're not to that level yet, and I want to go ahead and further explain this. So we have 5 over 20. Remember, you might have a lot on your mind in a rush, you might have something to do, and you might just go, oh, 5 over 20, you know, I know that's a quarter, or it reduces down to 1/4, that's a quarter. And then what happens is you'll put a quarter into the answer bar on MATLAB, and you got it wrong. When you get it wrong, you're going to be paying $330 to do a developmental math course, okay? I took the notes. I have the key problems. I got very important problems from developmental math to intermediate to college algebra. And if people are interested, I'll show my transcripts. I got A, developmental math, A in intermediate, and I did not get the A in college algebra. That is because I went down a wormhole and I just spent more time on scatter plots, okay? So 5, just reduce that, that's 1/4. So the answer to this equation is x equals a quarter. So we just, x is equal to a quarter, all right? But that's not what they're asking for. You need to read the directions, or read the question, I'm sorry, read the question. 5 is what percent? So you need to put a percentage in the answer bar. I know this sounds rudimentary. I don't know if that's the word for it. Redundant? I don't know. But it'll get you. Especially if you're above the age of 40 or maybe even above the age of 30. You haven't done math in a long time. All right? They want the percent. Okay? They want the percent. So x equals a quarter. We know that a quarter is 25%. If you don't know, you need to get in the math lab. So the answer to this problem is 25%. 5 equals 25% of 20. So that is, let me see what section that was. That's 6.3 problem solving with percent translation. That's a developmental math course. It's a 4 credit hour course. Okay, I took the notes with the, what's the word? Assumption? No. I took the notes because I wanted to teach my son. So I wanted to help my son get through college, get his degree. So I took really good notes. So that's it. 5 equals 25% of 20.